Welcome back to another episode of Asset Coach and Tax Strategist. And my name is Robert Wolf. I am an asset coach and tax strategist. And this episode is really going to continue this dialogue that we've had over the last couple of years on de-dollarization. What this process has been. It's been a long process, which you can imagine it would be a long process for a bunch of countries that around the world that really have no connection to each other than not liking the US dollar and wanting to do their own thing. And so what we're going to do is we're going to break down three articles that are written by the same author. And we're going to kind of look at this progression. We're going to start with the most recent and then go over, really it's the last couple of weeks of articles that this author has written to kind of see what this looks like. And so let me dive into, and just for those of you who do not know what this BRICS and de-dollarization is all about, we have tons of episodes on talking about that, my opinion on it, and again, that's what it is. It's an opinion. I'm not an economist. I'm not a professor. I'm not a self-professed expert on the economics. I'm just some random dude who helps people build their wealth by lowering taxes and looking at other assets and structuring their assets to help increase their wealth. That's it. Just a random guy who has an interest in this, but also likes to look between the lines and not really concerned about who's writing the article, but what's the meaning of the article for you and I. You and I as taxpayers, you and I who are trying to fight these economic termites, taxes, inflation, time, laws and regulations, our politicians. And how do we build our assets? How do we build our wealth with these economic termites eating away at the things that we're trying to do? So that's really the premise of Asset Coach and Tax Strategist. And so if you don't know what these economic termites are, go ahead. We've done a series on it on the book I wrote called Economic Termites. And we go through this process in these videos, or you can just go buy my book. The link will be in the subscription and go read it. It's a quick read. It's about 120 pages. So it's not it's not a novel. It's not War and Peace. It's not gonna cause your brain to hurt and you'll pass out because of a migraine or anything like that. It's pretty basic. I write like I talk, whether that's good or bad. It's so it's something that I think may be valuable to you. So let's dive into what this article talks about. So I'm going to share my screen here. Again, we cut and paste away from the article. This is Vinod D'Souza. This is an article from July 18th, so just a week or so ago. No de-dollarization. BRICS motive is going too far, says India. Oh, okay. So one of India is the I in BRICS. So right here, see this I? That's India. Okay. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South America. Okay, that's what the BRICS stands for. Now, there's many countries who have signed up for this. Saudi Arabia has, various other countries that are actually more bad actors. Iran has. So let's dive in here and see what this. India reaffirmed on Thursday that they do not align with the BRICS de-dollarization agenda and will not ditch the US dollar for trade and cross-border transactions. The statement comes just a few days after the 17th summit in Brazil, where member nations discussed the future prospects. External Affairs Minister of India confirmed that BRICS member nations discussed settling trade payments in local currencies. However, he stated that there were no talks about the formation of new BRICS common currency. De-dollarization is not something which is on the agenda, he said, assuring that India does not align with BRICS ideology. Cross-border payments, yes. BRICS have talked about local currencies, but de-dollarization is not something that is there on the agenda, he said. The remarks come after many developing countries are discussing advancing the de-dollarization initiative. Some of this, I think, is because we've had a change in administration. We have actual leadership running the country now, the United States. We have tariffs. We have conversations. India's been in talks with Trump and the administration. There's a lot of moving manufacturing away from China and into India. And you've heard me say before, and if you haven't, the only reason why we've done any kind of developing in China two reasons: cheap labor, and Tim Cook at Apple clarified something that I was not thinking about. So I thought was very enlightening for me to change my mindset on this, but also because China has a lot of high educated individuals for technology. Okay, that was the one thing. So one of the things that Tim Cook was talking about was when they have a conference and they're looking for product engineers, that kind of stuff. You come to the US and there's a few hundred people that attend. You go to China, there's a few thousand, like tens of thousands. Okay. And it's a population thing. We have 400 million people here. China has 1.3 billion, right? India has 1.4 billion. But here's the thing. What's the problem with China? They're communists. They don't really like free trade. When you look at the top wealthy companies in China in the world, they're state-backed companies. So you're not really a company. So it's really interesting, but it's communism. Why haven't we gone with Russia? They're because they're communists. No, let's be real, okay? But why are we shifting to India is for that reason. China has shown not to be a very good trade partner. China has shown that they really want to rule the world and get rid of us. Okay, great. Well, right now we have the power to make a decision, and our decision is go F off China. And so a lot of the manufacturing is moving to other parts of Asia, India being one of them. So now India is looking at this and saying, hey, maybe what the US is talking about makes sense for us as a country. So the external affairs minister of India revealed that India is not fully on board with the US dollar either, and plans to explore cross-border rupee usage. India wants to dim the lights on a de-dollarization in BRICS currency by promoting the rupee on the international stage. However, the development is at its nascent stage. I have no idea what that means, but maybe beginning stages. So why don't we just say beginning stages? And it has not a lot of parameters to go through before going live. Here's the other thing. So now India with the rupee is going to go through the same thing that China is going through with the yuan. Is at the end of the day, that's perfectly fine. Use your currency. And other countries using a currency to simplify trade is a great idea. Can you have more than one currency to do that? I guess we'll see. We'll see. And that's kind of what they're going to check out. So they're not fully on de-dollarization, get rid of the dollar. They're not fully on board with just focusing on the US dollar either. And because quite honestly, we were bad actors as well with the US dollar. We weaponized the dollar for bad actor countries. And I'm sure we did it in other areas as well. But I'm okay with that. And the reason why I'm okay with that, I believe that having the US dollar with the way the previous administrations have ran, is that they print billions of dollars and give these billions of dollars to other countries, and that devalues our dollars here in the States. And so and you and I are the responsible parties as taxpayers, because a lot of those countries that are getting printed dollars are in the need of printed dollars. They're in the need of it. They're not strong economies, so we're trying to help prop them up. And then I'll read an article about how China has done the same thing. So anyway, so that's that. Now let's go to the second article. This was July 17th. So this one was 18th. This one's the 17th. Mighty BRICS folds under pressure. Ooh, exciting. And the reason why we're reading this one is it says, also read this one. So I've said, well, let's read it. Let's find out what it has to say. BRICS was a raging bull when Joe Biden was in the White House and threatened to uproot the US dollar. They even rewrote trade deals, abandoning the US dollar and using local currencies for payment settlements. If that wasn't enough, the alliance made it clear that they are working on the formation of a new currency. De-dollarization was buzzing in the developing world, citing development as the only opportunity to capture power from the West. Now, We're going to go to this China settles thing in a second. So all it took was a threat from the president Donald Trump to impose tariffs, and the mighty BRICS folded under pressure. Trump's policies were quick, and world leaders realized that he's not playing around either. Thank you. That's what leadership is. The tariffs not only came down hard, but also rattled their plans, causing a rift within the alliance. It cut apart their ideology in half, where Russia, China, and Iran are all on one side, and India, South Africa, and the UAE are on the other side. Great job, Trump. And this is kind of what I was talking about BRICS in some of my previous episodes over the last couple years, is that how in the world are these countries going to agree? They're so different. And that's been the tough thing about the U.S. But the difference with the U.S. is that we also have a military power that really kind of protected us from other countries threatening us. That's not necessarily the case here, right? Russia and China aren't going to go to war, right? They're both communist countries. Iran, China, Russia, they're not going to go to war. So now, after Trump threatened additional tariffs, BRICS members were in talks with the White House to reduce customs on their behalf. The idea of launching a BRICS currency has taken a backseat with little to no progress on formation. Exactly. That's the whole point of what I've been trying to say, is that this is a bunch of countries who are trying to create their own currency, kind of like how Europe, that made sense. They were European countries, but it didn't make sense for all of them, such as England. They backed out. They looked at it and say, no. We're doing just fine on our own. We don't need all of you. You guys need us. We don't need you. And that has affected Germany. Germany is now the leader in Europe in what everybody kind of focuses on. So there always needs to be a leader. There does. It's just the reality. Most people need to follow somebody. And so that's the interesting thing here is that China is trying to be the leader here, but you have other countries like Russia, India, that also want to be leaders. So I just don't see it ever working. Now, creating trade deals with your local currencies back and forth, sure. Go do that all day long. Have at it. Have at it. All right, so let's go to the other one. China settles $855 billion worth of deals with BRICS countries. Let's see what this. China settled trade worth 6.11 trillion yuan, or $855 billion with BRIC members during the first half of 25. The trade volume among member and partner countries increased by 3.9% year on year in January to June this year. The development signals a major shift where the alliance is working closely with member nations for cross-border trade and transactions. Apart from BRICS countries, China has also proposed to establish a new digital trading platform. The proposal was announced in the ongoing SCO Global Mayors Dialogue in China's Tianjin city on Tuesday. The significant changes would affect the U.S. dollar, as the digital trading platform could bypass the U.S. dollar for payments. Awesome. You guys go do that. The reality is that what's going to happen with these countries is China's going to take over these countries, which is what China wants. The U.S. doesn't want to take over countries, or we would have. We would have. We would have taken over the Middle East if we wanted the Middle East. We wouldn't have spent billions of dollars in a decade or two there trying to help them build up their own infrastructure. We never took over Japan. We never took over Germany. Never took over Vietnam. Hello? Why do people think that we're good, especially the Americans think we're trying to take over the world? We don't need that. We need partners. And with partners comes deals with trade of goods and services and a way to transact those trades, which is you need currency. So that's what Trump's been trying to do with tariffs, is saying, hey, you guys keep charging us all these currency taxes, tariffs on our goods, but we haven't done it for you, and we're buying your goods and you're charging us for ours. So he just said, we're going to reciprocate that. Done. Done. Very simple. In the first half of the year, China's trade overturned with the BRICS members and partner countries amounted to 6.11 trillion yuan, representing 3.9. Okay, great. Let's see here. Receives transactions were dominant by the West for decades. BRICS countries and partners account for roughly 28% of China's foreign trade in the first half. Good. BRICS countries and partners account for roughly 28% of China's foreign trade. Now, why is this important to China? Because we, the U.S., are saying F off. We don't need ya. See you later. And China has to figure out how to keep up their GDP. So they're utilizing these other relationships. Good for them. That's what they need to do as a country to survive. The problem is that not all of those countries are going to consume like the U.S. does, which is why China's economy has been tanking. Yes, you're not hearing that. That's what's happening. And that's why they're pushing BRICS. That's why they sent 855 billion worth of trade deals with these other countries. Good for them. Good for them. And if it works, good for them. Will it work long term? I don't think so. I don't think so. But who am I? Again, I'm not an expert in this area. I'm just some random dude that's taking a look at this and saying best of luck. Again, much smarter people are involved than I am. Just reading articles and trying to decipher what do I do in my little world over here and how do I help my clients, my members with their little world as well. And our little worlds converge and we try to make a little bit bigger meaning in our community. And all these things affect that, of course, why we have this channel and why we talk about this stuff, because it does affect us. We just need to know why and how, or if it really does to the extent that everybody's saying it should or does, right? So anyways, hopefully this was good. It's not, it's not riveting. I'm not, it's not like, oh my goodness, Bob's talking smack on California type conversations. By the way, I get the most viewership when I talk smack on California, which is why I don't do episodes every week on California. That's not how my channel's designed. I don't care about California. I only care about California when it affects our conversations about economic termites. And then we talk about it, just like we did with BRICS today. So hopefully you like this. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe and give us a thumbs up. We drop episodes every Thursday. And until we see you again, make it a great day.